July 11th, 2011. If you know, you know. It's 7-Eleven Day, the day you can walk into any 7-Eleven in America and get a free Slurpee, at least at the time of this recording. I remember that because I had my two young kids with me, and we drove out to the DC branch office in Virginia. Not for Slurpees. I went to sign my franchise agreement. All the training was done, the space was found, the lease was negotiated. I had done everything that needed to be done. This was the last step, the one that made it real. I sat down in that office with my two kids beside me and I signed my name. And that was it. I was officially a Kumon operator. That was 15 years ago today. And I want to tell you what happened next and why 15 years later, I'm sitting here recording this podcast. I'm Jacquie Langworthy, and this is Raising Scholars. Welcome to Raising Scholars. I'm Jacquie Langworthy, educator, learning center owner, and a mom who raised two confident, independent scholars. Today is a special episode. I don't usually break away from the season format, but I could not let this day pass without marking it. July 11th is our anniversary. 15 years since I became a Kumon operator. 15 years since I decided to bet on myself and the families in my community. And I want to use this moment to do something that I have not done yet on this podcast. Tell you where all of this came from. The center, the framework, the podcast, all of it. Because it didn't start as a business plan. It started as a belief. 4 months after I signed that franchise agreement, 4 months of building and preparing and getting everything in place, we started taking on our first students. And I want to tell you about my very first family. We had permit issues, and the builder was behind schedule, and we were headed into the holiday season. Most businesses would have waited until the new year. I didn't. We started anyway, in the Crofton Library, before we had a permanent space, before the sign went up, before everything looked the way it was supposed to look. The families who came to us in those first days came because they believed in what we were building. My very first student walked in as a young child, a family who was eager to start, eager to invest. And they stayed. They stayed for over a decade. I just celebrated with that family at his college graduation party, a degree in computer science. A young man I have watched grow from a little kid doing worksheets in the library into someone walking across a stage and into his future. That's not a client relationship. That's a family. And that family is the reason why I'm still here 15 years later. Here's what I learned from them and the hundreds of families who have walked through the doors since. Progress is not always linear. Learning is not always fast. And the families who stay, who show up consistently, even when it's hard, even when the gap feels too big, even when everyone else has moved on, those families, those are the ones who get the graduation party. The families who stay are the ones who get to see what staying actually builds. 15 years ago is a long time to do one thing, and I want to be honest with you about what those 15 years actually look like from the inside. I've sat across from thousands of parents, and I've watched children who have come in behind grade level become the student who is helping their classmates. I've watched families fight the homework battle every single night until they finally find a system that worked. I've watched parents who were exhausted and frustrated and convinced that something was wrong with their child discover that nothing was wrong. Their child just needed the right foundation and the right time with the right support. And somewhere in the middle of all that, somewhere between the first family who walked into that Crofton Library and the graduation party I just attended, I realized something. I have been giving parenting advice for 15 years, not from a book, from a front row seat, from watching what actually works in real homes with real families navigating real challenges. And the advice I was giving the families in Crofton, it was working. The framework I was building, it was real. And I kept thinking, what if more families had access to this? What about the parent who doesn't live near my center, who doesn't know about Kuman, who is fighting the same battles every night? What if they could hear it too? That question is why this podcast exists. For 15 years, I've changed lives inside of four walls. This podcast is my answer to the question, what if I could reach further? I want to tell you the truth about how this podcast started. At the beginning of 2026, I made myself a promise. I said, I'm going to try something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've been afraid to start. I'm going to launch that podcast. I told myself I would do 6 episodes, a mini season, just to see if I liked it, just to see if it worked. And I'm sitting here recording what is probably around episode 25, and I'm not stopping. I didn't have everything figured out when I started. I did not have a perfect setup. I still don't. Or a polished process. I showed up with what I had. I recorded with the tools I had, and I put it out. And something happened that I did not expect. I found out I love this. I love talking to parents. I love digging into the framework I have spent 15 years building and finding language for it. I love knowing that a parent somewhere is listening and feeling less alone in the middle of the homework battle or the nag cycle or the moment their child shuts down and they don't know how to reach them. That is why this podcast exists. Not because I had it all figured out, because I had something worth saying and I decided to say it. You don't have to have it all figured out to start. You just have to have something worth saying. A few things before I close. First, my very first interview episode just dropped. I was so nervous to record it, but I did it anyway. Because 15 years of running a business has taught me that things worth doing are almost always the things that scare you first. That episode is out now. It's a real conversation with a real mom and a real story. Go find it. I think it might be your favorite episode of the season. Second, I recently attended a podcast summit, and I want to say this clearly. It was completely worth it. It got me so excited about this work in a new way. If podcasting is something you've been curious about, starting one, growing one, figuring out where to begin, find me on Instagram at Raising Scholars Podcast. I'm always willing to share what I know. Let's connect. And third, in September, I'm launching something I have been building alongside this podcast. It's called the Raising Scholars Circle, a community for parents who want to go deeper than a weekly episode. The Sunday reset you have beginning every week, that's a free preview of what Circle members receive. The waitlist is open right now at raisingscholarspodcast.com. Join it. September is coming faster than you think. I want to say something to you directly. If you're a parent who has been showing up, doing the homework every night, building the routine, fighting the battles, wondering if any of this is working, I want you to hear this. The families who stay are the ones who get to see what staying actually builds. You don't get to see it yet, but it's being built. Every single day that you show up, every non-negotiable you hold, every time you choose to do the hard, right thing over the easy, wrong one, it's accumulating. 15 years ago, I started with a first student in a library with no sign on the door. Last month, I watched that student walk across the stage with a college degree. Keep going. Before I close, 4 things today. 1, if you've been listening since the beginning, thank you. Would you leave a review right now, wherever you're listening? 30 seconds. It helps another parent find this show. And every parent who finds this show is one more family that gets access to 15 years of what I've learned. 2, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Not a strategy episode, this one, the origin. Because sometimes the most encouraging thing a parent needs to know is that the person giving them advice is also still figuring it out. I am, and I'm still going. 3, Follow or subscribe wherever you listen. New episodes are dropped every Tuesday. 4. Join the Circle waitlist at raisingscholarsPodcast.com. September is coming faster than you think. 15 years ago, I sat in an office in Virginia with my 2 kids beside me, and I signed my name on a piece of paper that said, I believe this is worth it. I believe in me. I have never stopped believing that. The families that I have served in Crofton, the students I have watched grow, the parents I have sat across from at their most exhausted time and helped them find their footing, the first student who is now a college graduate. This podcast, these conversations, you, all of it is what I believed in that office 15 years ago. I believed that this would happen. I started this podcast because I realized the advice I have been giving inside of 4 walls for 15 years deserves a bigger room. You're in that room now, and I'm so grateful you're here. 15 years, and I'm just getting started. I'm Jacquie Langworthy. Happy anniversary to every family who has ever been a part of this journey. We're still here, and thank you for being here for the next chapter. See you in the next episode.